Hey everyone, it's Brian from 517 RC Trail Crawling. Today we're going to take another look at the Traction Hobby Cragsman C Pro. It's been pretty much a year since I did my little unboxing initial review, and since then I've had a lot of trail time with this and I've done a lot to it. So I thought we would talk about it in its stock form, and then some of the issues with that, and then some of the things I've done since. So I've cleaned it up a bit because I actually do run this thing a lot, and it's held up, I would say, very well compared to every other rig I've owned. I've got an Axial, uh, Traxxas TRX4, a couple of those. I've got a Vanquish. I've got little homegrown Axial legendary vehicle, and I've got a G-Made. So out of all of those, this is on par with everything I've experienced from any of those other manufacturers. The only downside I would say is replacement parts. They are out there. They are just hard to get. I've used Asia Tees. I've used AliExpress, and then just found out that some of your other parts from other manufacturers that you can get here work. So anyway, let's talk about the stock performance. Uh, it was really good. This vehicle has great modulation. The low speed control is fantastic. Even though it's a brushed and it's an older ESC, the amount of torque that 775 brushed can put out with that ESC is great. I had a lot of fun on the trails. The two speed, the ratio between the first and second gear is really nice. It's like a Traxxas difference. Great for low speed, and then in second gear, you can have a lot of fun if you want to bash or just blast from obstacle to obstacle if you get long distance on your trails. Uh, I didn't have any complaints. The vehicle did everything I wanted it to, and it did it as well as my other vehicles after the other vehicles had upgrades done to them. So out of the box, it's better than other typical rigs like an Axial, a G-Made, maybe a Traxxas. I don't know. A Vanquish, no, I would say it's on par with Vanquish from my limited experience. Um, but I would definitely recommend it. It's been a lot of fun and it's held up. There hasn't been any major issues outside of either my user error or just your normal wear and tear. Okay, so let's go into issues right away. Um, the lights. I've done another video about the lights. It was actually intended for the AGT support team, but my lights didn't work from the factory. The light kit only powered 3 of the 4 front lights plus the turn signals. It sounds kind of weird, but I think I can show that to you here. So here you can see the lights that work. We have so these are actually the middle lights on the front. I would say they were the daytime running lights. And the actual headlights are a bulb above those, but I cannot get those to work. And I have the grill lights, and then the turn signals work. So that's all I can get. This vehicle doesn't have rear tail lights, so I can't test those, but I cannot get the headlights to work with the setup. It just doesn't work. So I know there's another user I see in the Traction Hobbies group that has the same issues. So that kind of stinks. All right, let's talk. The other issue I had was the stock steering servo, which isn't really a thing that most people worry about because we all replace our stock steering servos anyway. I went with an NSDRC RS800 V2, and I do run my rig on 4S, so this, move it back a little bit. Sorry, this vehicle is really big on this bench, so it's hard to get in there. But it has no trouble with this rig. And I guess while we're talking steering, that was another issue. So, out of the box, my very first problem was with the steering, the servo, the servo horn. I mean, you can see now I've replaced it with a very heavy-duty brass K&K servo horn. This is the only one so far that hasn't bent. And that might be that the servo has so much torque and this vehicle is so heavy and I'm running into objects, it puts a lot of stress on that. But every other servo, I'm going, this is my fourth horn. 3 in the past have all just bent under the stress of this thing. All right, so the next issue, which is my biggest problem so far, is, let's see if we can get this in view. I'm going to take the body off. All right, so how about we just flip it over? All right, so these, the C-hubs, whatever you want, the portal carriers, they are only attached with a screw here and a screw in the back. And they come loose all the time. So what happens, let's see if this one's tight now. It moves a little bit. And this one moves a little bit. I have retapped one of these. I don't know which it is right now. I've retapped it into the actual axle and used a bigger screw on one of them just to keep it in with red Loctite. If anything else happens to that, I don't know what else I would do. I can't really keep retapping bigger besides getting a new axle housing. But that I have to retighten and check every time I run it. It's kind of a pain. Other issues, I guess while we're down here, you can see my diffs have had a lot of use. Don't pay attention to that yet, the motor. My skid plate, you can see it's also got a lot of abuse. Rear diff, they've been hit a lot. This skid plate is less than ideal. You can see there's a lot of angles, a lot of edges to this skid plate, and it's aluminum, billet aluminum. It doesn't give, so I get hung up on that all the time. I actually have a couple pieces in the work. Got a skid plate that I'm going to put on. Yeah, like that. I think I'm going to get one of those things. I'm going to get one of that going. And I've got some other plates for the front. The front here. for the steering and the diffs, but that's down the road a little ways. Um, I also have broken a link. See if you can see here. We have a Traxxas Revo rod end, and this is a factory, and I actually broke it in half, like right here. Just the whole thing just split. This rod end works. I did get replacements from AliExpress. Maybe I'll link those in the video description. All right. So let's see what we've done to this thing so far. All right, let's talk tires first. What I have now are the tires that come with the Founder 2, Founder 2 Pro. These have not seen use yet. I bought them after the fact, but I haven't been able to get some waterproof inserts, foams. I like to run 3D printed inserts in this rig. I do a lot of water running, so these foams that are in here now, they seem kind of okay, but they won't last. Once water gets into them, and they'll just collapse under the weight of this thing. So that's what I want to run. I just need to get some inserts because I think they look great. I think those wheels look fantastic. These are the stock wheels and tires. They did really well. They just had these are sealed from the factory. And they did all right. It's just they're not beefy enough for the weight of this rig. I think this vehicle is 14 pounds, and these tires just folded. I couldn't get the steering I needed. I couldn't get the side hill support I wanted. But I think that the tire compound is all right, and the tread pattern's pretty good. I think it did all right on the rocks, and the trails. In the dirt and mud, it was okay. I think on the rocks it actually did fairly well. There isn't a whole lot of side lug though. I don't mind the wheels. The hardware you can see is getting a little rusty, but anyway, that's the factory wheel tire. These are optional, obviously. These come with the Founder, not with the Cragsman. I bought these wheels direct from Traction Hobby. They're kind of expensive. They are Vanquish money. These feel better in compound, and I think the tractor profile is better. These are 2.6-inch wheels in diameter by 2.2-inch wide. These are 2.2-inch diameter and width. So you can't just interchange them. This rig right now in its current configuration is set up for more of a rock racing, rock bouncing configuration. We have a local event here every year. It's the Great Lakes Gauntlet, and I wanted to run this rig in the Purgatory competition, which is a 2-lap best time wins kind of a rock racing setup. So right now in this config, that's how I built it. I've got longer shocks. These are 100 millimeter shocks versus let's see if I can find yeah. These are the stock shocks, and they worked really well. I liked them a lot. They're only 90 millimeters though, and I wanted a little more ground clearance. So I went with 100 millimeter shocks, front and rear. These are just cheap Injoras, and they leak horribly, but I didn't really care because I built it for that purpose. And also, these are the tires I run. These are 2.2 Showdowns from Duratrax, obviously. They are bigger than the stock tire. If you can see, well, actually I can show you the difference in tread depth, the difference in tire height, the difference in width. So these are just bigger. And I have custom inserts in here. They are 3D printed inserts. I have a nice stiff sidewall. And yeah, I still get compression. I like them a lot. So that's what you see on here now. So it's taller, it's bouncier, but it runs really well. Tires are good for like I said, rock racing in this kind of rig, maybe bashing. They don't have a lot of grip on the rig, on the rocks and whatever. But so what else did I do? So this right here is the stock battery tray with a giant 4S 5200 or 55. What do we got? 5500 in there. I ran this on the stock motor in ESC, and I got a ton of runtime, and the wheel speed was great. I had a lot of fun with it. But then I switched to what you see here is, well, actually, before this motor, I had a 540 2700 kV on a Castle Sidewinder, and this rig is too heavy. Even though I had the speed, the low speed control, and the top end I wanted, the motor and ESC were just overheating. They just couldn't take it. So I took those out, and I got a great deal on a Castle Monster, Mama Monster X, and a 1512 2650. This setup is I really enjoy. The low speed, it's not, even though it's censored, it's a high kV, it's Castle, it's not Hobby Wing Axe or Fusion slow, it's not Outrunner slow, but the top end and the response is great, and it doesn't even break a sweat. It's great in this thing. I moved my receiver up here because I wanted to put, for more performance, I wanted batteries mounted lower. So I don't run this unless I'm just goofing around the trails. When I'm doing anything serious, my rock racing, any kind of crawling, I'm running a 2S 2200 on each side, and you can see how much lower that is than this, and the weight is better. And I still get probably 45 minutes of trail time with this thing on those batteries, maybe even more, maybe like an hour with trailing and crawling. So that setup, there's the ESC. It's been fantastic. There's the steering servo. And you can also see I added a winch. This is the strongest one that RC four-wheel drive sells. I got the winch here, the winch controller, and then I run a battery for it here, powered this way, so it's a 2S battery I run there, because I have, with this and this together, with this crazy harness, I'm getting 4S at 2200 milliamps. Yeah, so that's, oh yeah, one more thing. Stock, the shift servos, the rear one, which is back there, you can kind of see it, it started to get glitchy whenever it would get wet. And I know they're not waterproof rated from the factory, but I went ahead and replaced them all. Let's see if I can see them. If you can kind of see down here. I've replaced them with waterproof high voltage. No, not high voltage, just waterproof. They're like TX4 replacement shift servos. I replaced all of them, and with the servo savers that come on this rig, as far as I can tell, they've got to be the best I've used. They're so easy to set up and adjust, and the amount of forgiveness in the adjustment is fantastic. You could be off by 5 millimeters, and it's still going to engage and disengage. It's got a lot of wiggle room. Their servo savers are fantastic, and I don't know why everyone else isn't using them. The Traxxas TRX4 servo savers, nah, that's a nightmare to set up and adjust. So, yeah, there it is. It's what I've done, what I think, what I'm gonna do next. Um, I already have a Founder 2 that I'm gonna set up, and I'm gonna gear that more for just rock crawling, slower, more traditional crawler performance. And I'm gonna keep this thing the way it is. I don't know what else I'll change. Um, I'll put some skid plates on it, and then yeah, I'm just gonna go hard in this thing. So yeah, tell me what you think. Comments, like, dislike. It's been a fun rig. I would definitely recommend it if you can find it at a good price. So yeah, thanks. Like and subscribe.